Day 10 of the war. The narrowest choke point on Earth, 21 nautical miles wide at its tightest point, had gone completely silent. No tanker transponders, no AIS signals, no civilian traffic. Just 150 anchored vessels sitting ghost still in the Gulf of Oman, waiting. Oil had hit $117 a barrel at market open in Asia. Qatar had already declared force majeure on LNG contracts, and somewhere beneath the 34-meter thermocline layer off Qeshm Island, an Iranian Kilo-class diesel-electric submarine was running on battery power, barely moving, breathing. The USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Strike Group, positioned 140 nautical miles southeast of the strait, had just received the order from CENTCOM that everyone knew was coming. Execute Operation Iron Corridor. The mission was brutal in its simplicity. Escort a convoy of 6 oil tankers through the Strait of Hormuz at first light. Reopen the artery that supplies 20% of the world's daily petroleum. Prove that no nation on Earth could close what the United States Navy keeps open. What the convoy didn't know was that the IRGC had been waiting for exactly this moment for 9 days. The trap had a name. Iranian signals intercepted by the NSA's forward relay station in Bahrain before it took a direct drone hit on March 7th identified the operation by its Farsi code name, Qeshm, the inevitable. Iran's plan was not to sink every tanker. It didn't need to. It only needed to put one American destroyer on the bottom of the strait on live satellite feed. One burning escort ship. That image, broadcast globally, crude climbing to $140 a barrel, the Dow in free fall, would fracture the coalition holding together the Gulf states' cooperation, force the evacuation of U.S. bases in Qatar and Bahrain, and hand Tehran the only victory it still had a chance of winning. The opening move of Qeshm had already been playing out for 48 hours without anyone on the surface knowing it. At 0319 hours, inside the Combat Information Center of the USS NITS DDG-94, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer leading the convoy formation, Tactical Action Officer Lieutenant Commander Renata Voss was staring at a screen that was lying to her. The SPY-1D phased array radar was painting the strait clean. No surface contacts beyond the known Iranian patrol vessel grid. No subsurface anomalies. The electronic picture looked exactly like what the IRGC wanted it to look like. Because 72 hours earlier, using a technique confirmed in post-conflict analysis of the 2025 12-day war, Iranian electronic warfare units aboard 2 fishing dhows had activated a GPS spoofing package lifted directly from Russian Krasukha 4 technology. The dhows had been anchored inside the strait for 6 days, indistinguishable from hundreds of vessels that had sheltered in place since the strait effectively closed on March 2nd. The spoofing wasn't designed to blind the USS NITS entirely. That was impossible against AEGIS Baseline 9. It was designed for something far surgical, to introduce a 340-meter positional error into the inertial navigation systems of the convoy itself, to make the 6 civilian vessels, the Louise P., the Stena Imperative, repaired after its Bahrain attack, the Minerva Lyra, the Nordic Hani, and 2 Indian-flagged crude carriers believed they were precisely on the designated safe corridor, when in reality they were being silently herded 340 meters north, directly into a minefield.
Iran had deployed the mines 9 days earlier, during the 36-hour window before Operation Epic Fury began on February 28th, when the strait was technically open. 2 IRGC Ghadir-class midget submarines had made 3 separate transits, each time laying a string of Sadaf bottom-influence mines programmed to activate via acoustic trigger. The mines had been sitting dormant, cold, undetectable until the convoy activated them. At 0326 hours, the P-8A Poseidon maritime patrol aircraft, flying the ASW screen 18,000 feet above the convoy's projected path, detected something that snapped the entire kill chain awake.
Transient contact, grid Foxtrot 7, magnetic anomaly signature, possible sub, confidence, medium-high. The voice of Senior Chief Aviation Warfare Systems Operator Dana Kroll was flat, professional, the same voice she'd used during 100 training exercises. But this was not a training exercise. The magnetic anomaly signature was consistent with the Kilo-class Project 636 Varshavyanka, 3 of which remained in Iran's inventory after CENTCOM confirmed sinking 4 IRIN surface combatants and destroying the naval headquarters at Bandar Abbas on March 1st. The Kilo was 210 meters below the surface, not moving, not emitting, just waiting, torpedo tube doors already cracked to equalization pressure, the click that a DFAR sonobuoy had caught at 0311, a sound barely above thermal noise. Simultaneously, on the Link 16 tactical data network shared across the carrier strike group, a new hostile symbol bloomed into existence on every CIC screen from the USS Abraham to the USS Nitze. Not one contact, 3. 2 of them were surface, the IRGC's Ashura-class fast attack boats, 12-meter fiberglass hull vessels, each loaded with a single Kausar anti-ship missile, a domestically built C-701 derivative with a 130-kilogram shaped charge warhead, sea-skimming at Mach 0.8. They had been hiding in the dead water behind Larak Island, AIS dark, running on electric outboards to suppress their thermal signature. They were now accelerating, 45 knots, bow on to the convoy's lead tanker. The third contact was not a boat. It was the radar signature of a truck-mounted Khalij Fars ballistic missile battery that had just been erected on Qeshm Island's north shore, 11 nautical miles from the convoy route. The Khalij Fars, an anti-ship ballistic missile Iran had been refining since 2011, with a maneuvering re-entry vehicle designed specifically to defeat AEGIS intercept envelopes. It had a circular error probable of under 8.5 meters against a moving surface target. Against a 274-meter oil tanker doing 10 knots, it was effectively a point weapon. Iran's plan was a 3-layer simultaneous saturation attack. The Khalij Fars would force the Aegis destroyers to commit their Standard Missile 6 interceptors. The Ashura fast boats would draw sea whiz fire and close-in defensive attention, and in that 90-second window of maximum noise and confusion, the Kilo would fire 2 53-65 KE wake-homing torpedoes at the USS Nitze from 2,100 meters, inside the effective range of the destroyer's torpedo countermeasure. The Iranians had run this scenario in simulation more than 400 times. They believed it worked. They believed they had accounted for everything. They had not accounted for the USS Vermont.
At 0328 hours, Commander Alexei Park,
commanding officer of the Virginia-class fast attack submarine SSN 792, had been tracking the Iranian Kilo for 4 hours and 11 minutes. The Vermont had slipped into the strait 72 hours before the convoy, running at 3 knots under the thermal layer, tow array deployed, recording. At this moment, the Vermont was 840 meters off the Kilo's port quarter, inside the Iranian submarine's baffles, in the acoustic blind spot directly behind its propulsion plant. The Kilo's captain had no idea. At 0330 hours, the Khalij Fars missile battery on Qeshm Island completed its pre-launch sequence. The radar lock warning screeched across every CIC in the convoy formation. Vampire! 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 The automated AEGIS fire control aboard the USS Nitz and its flanking destroyer USS Cole simultaneously calculated intercept solutions, vertically launching 2 SM-6 missiles each, 8 missiles committed against a single inbound ballistic track, the standard protocol for a maneuvering re-entry vehicle at 15-kilometer altitude, 4.2-kilometer descent speed. At the same time, both Ashura fast boats cleared Larak Island and went to full military power. Their Kausar missiles were now active radar homing, locked on to the thermal plume of the Louise Pease diesel stack. Distance to impact, 6 minutes, 40 seconds. In the P-8A overhead, Senior Chief Kroll was simultaneously processing the Kilo contact, the Fateh contact, and 3 new pop-up radar returns from the direction of Abu Musa Island that looked like Shahed 136 drone signatures running at sea level in a loose swarm pattern, 11 of them. The drones weren't aimed at the convoy. Their flight path intersected the E-2D Hawkeye early warning aircraft orbiting the carrier strike group 80 miles east, the electronic brain of the entire operation. The IRGC's targeting logic was ruthless. Blind the Hawkeye and the Link 16 data fusion that allowed the carrier strike group to fight as a single integrated system would fragment. Every platform would revert to local sensor data only. In that degraded state, with SM-6s already committed against the ballistic missile, with CWAS tracking the fast boats, with a minefield 340 meters off the convoy's bow, the USS Vermont would be on its own. 0331 hours. The 22-minute countdown had begun.